The hallway is warm, the carpet is thick, and the ship's engines pulse like a steady heart. A cabin door clicks shut. Inside, a phone keeps charging. A passport sits in a drawer. Shoes are placed neatly beside the bed, as if tomorrow is guaranteed. Then morning arrives, and the room looks the same, except the person is gone. No storm, no crash, no shouted warning, just absence. In the language of investigators, someone has disappeared at sea, and the ocean has already started doing what it does best: erasing. Cruise travel sells safety and routine, but a cruise ship disappearance turns routine into a moving puzzle. The ship keeps sailing, the timeline stretches behind it, and an unsolved mystery at sea becomes harder to contain than any story on land. One truth matters before the cases. The first hours decide almost everything. Security can review keycard activity, check camera angles, and sweep decks, but ships are not frozen scenes. Crowds rotate through venues and salt air degrades traces. If the report comes late, the vessel may already be miles from the last reliable point. That delay is one reason missing passengers on cruise ships are so hard to find, and why answers can stay out of reach. When alarms are raised, crews may broadcast a ship-wide page, lock down key exits, and ask nearby cabins if anyone saw a late-night walk. Security can check whether a key card was used, whether a drink was purchased, or whether a phone connected to ship Wi-Fi. If an overboard scenario is possible, the bridge logs position and begins coordination with rescue services and authorities. But distance grows with every minute. Amy Lynn Bradley, 1998. Amy sailed with her family on Royal Caribbean's Rhapsody of the Seas. Public reporting places her on board during the early morning hours. Later, she was missing. Searches were conducted, announcements were made, and yet the outcome never became clear. What keeps this case alive is the tight window. A few quiet hours when most people are asleep and movement blends into routine. A short walk on deck can look ordinary and still be the last confirmed moment. Years later, it remains one of the most discussed real cruise ship disappearance cases. George Allen Smith IV, 2005. George was on his honeymoon aboard Royal Caribbean's Brilliance of the Seas and did not return to his cabin after a night out. Public accounts have emphasized disputed timelines and unanswered details about the final hours. This uncertainty is the heartbeat of a true crime cruise ship disappearance. The sense that a few missing minutes may hold the entire truth. Investigators look for objective traces, receipts, keycard logs, partial footage, but gaps can remain. For families, the pain is living between possibilities. Rebecca Coriam, 2011. Rebecca Coriam worked aboard the Disney Wonder and disappeared during a voyage near Mexico. Reports describe her last known appearance in the early morning, and note she seemed distressed shortly before she vanished. Crew cases are complicated because crew members move through service corridors, restricted decks, and work areas outside the guest routine. Their schedules also mean a normal moment can happen when attention is focused elsewhere. The result is often the same: long searches, difficult jurisdiction questions, and little closure. Marion Carver, 2004. Marion traveled with friends on Celebrity Mercury and went missing during the cruise. Public summaries describe a familiar shape. Last seen late at night, then missing by morning. This is the shape of an overnight cruise ship disappearance. While most guests sleep behind closed doors, the ship keeps moving through dark water, and each passing hour expands the distance from the last known moment. If overboard is suspected, timing is everything. Without a timestamp, currents and wind can turn a search into an estimate. Jimmy Scavone, 1999. Jimmy vanished from a Carnival cruise shortly after graduating from college, and his family spent years pressing for clarity. Older cases can be especially haunting because modern tools were limited and early opportunities may have been missed. Yet families do not stop living with the question because the calendar changes. When people say unsolved cruise ship disappearance, they often imagine a headline and then silence. For loved ones, it becomes years of advocacy and waiting. Christopher Caldwell, 2004. Christopher disappeared from a Carnival cruise in the Caribbean. Discussions around his case returned to the same pressure points: delay, distance, and uncertainty about the last confirmed sighting. The sea does not preserve a scene. On land, you can lock down an area. At sea, the environment is actively dismantling what you need. That is why a mysterious cruise ship disappearance at sea can persist even when there is effort, but not enough reliable moments to anchor the investigation. Richard Fernside, 2010. Richard vanished during a Royal Caribbean cruise, and his case has been highlighted by advocates calling for stronger safety measures. Different ships, different routes, but a familiar ending. Fragments instead of closure. Not every case becomes widely known, but the pattern repeats across years, leaving families searching for answers that never arrive. Step back, and the patterns sharpen. Many reports begin with a line that sounds simple but is terrifying in practice. Passenger disappeared overnight on cruise ship. Sometimes cabins appear normal, with personal items left behind and no visible disruption. That contradiction is why people talk about people who vanished from cruise cabins. The setting feels controlled, yet the outcome feels impossible. Investigators must consider a range of explanations, from accidental falls to medical crises to encounters that never make it into a clear record. Surveillance helps, but it is not perfect. Cameras prioritize casinos, atriums, and main corridors. Stairwells and exterior edges can have blind angles, glare, or crowd blockage. A person can leave a show, turn down a quieter passageway, and disappear from the record in seconds. When the last clear image shows someone walking normally, and then nothing, families are left chasing interpretations rather than facts. That is how a cruise ship disappearance at sea can become an unsolved cruise ship mystery. Jurisdiction adds another layer. A ship may be registered in one country, operated by a company based in another, and sailing between ports with different legal procedures. That patchwork can slow decisions and complicate who leads the investigation. Even the language in official summaries can feel cold, because it is built for paperwork, not grief. There is also the human factor. Cruise days are long, nights are louder, and people move between venues in shifting groups. Someone can step away to take a call or to get air on a deck, and nobody panics because the ship feels contained. Railings are everywhere, and so are quiet exterior corners where wind and motion can affect balance. And when a friend is not where they should be, people often search privately first. Those extra minutes are expensive. Taken together, these stories show why the ocean is not a backdrop. It is an active force that moves, hides, and resets the scene. These are real cruise ship disappearance cases, and they carry a practical lesson. Stay connected with your group. Avoid isolated decks late at night, and report concerns immediately. Minutes matter more than embarrassment. If this episode kept you thinking, share it with someone who loves maritime investigations. Subscribe for the next upload, and in the comments tell me which unsolved cruise ship disappearance deserves a full timeline breakdown, and which clue you think matters most when someone has disappeared at sea.